Deb, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So, Deb, you're the CEO of the Centre for Excellence for Child and Family Welfare, is that right?
It is.
100-year-old and a bit more organisation. Just tell us a bit about the organisation, first of all.
It is an incredibly old organisation. It was established over 100 years ago by a group of female philanthropists. Many of those trusts and philanthropists are still around today.
So what's the centre actually do?
In generic terms, it's a peak body, and most people who work in any industry now understand membership bodies and peak bodies. So in general terms, what we do is we've got a big bunch of members from local government through to child, youth and family services, primary health providers and the like, and their combined interest is in the welfare of vulnerable children, young people and families. We're also an RTO, so we provide a lot of training, tailored training and specific training to a range of workforces, not just our own, but outside of Victoria, across the country.
So one of the big issues we're dealing with as an organisation and your members and beyond is around matters of abuse, and Royal Commissions and other inquiries are underway. And I know you're deeply involved with that too. What do you think will be the outcome, not in specific terms, what do you think this will actually make different in the future?
In many ways, the Royal Commissions that are going on and the ones that are about to start, such as the Family Violence Royal Commission, are an important milestone in the history of any country. It's where we look at the things that we have done poorly and the damage that we've done, and how we can both correct that damage but not do it again. And so in all of that, the opportunities to make sure that children are safe and that they thrive, particularly disadvantaged children. But first of all, what we've got to do is make sure that people who are survivors of sexual abuse, that they're given the opportunity to heal, and that then we start working on how we can make sure it doesn't happen again. Every day I do hear the sad stories about where things have gone wrong, but I equally hear workers talk about their work, talking about the children and the families they work with in such an inspirational way, hear about the outcomes and the lives that are changed. And I think that we now need to start talking about what is working rather than what isn't working, as well as dealing with our past.
Yeah, I mean, the staff we have and your other members, they're great people. Most of them are doing brilliant work every day.
And there is great sadness in the work that we do, and it's not to not want to acknowledge that, but out of that, people like you and I, what we want to do is change that.
Yep. An area of particular interest for us is the crossover between the traditional out-of-home care, kids in crisis, and increasingly kids with disability that are being relinquished or families just not coping with that, and kids now entering into the out-of-home care system. Can you comment about that and what you see may be the future there?
There's no doubt. I mean, there was some research that AusChild and a couple of our agencies did last year about the emerging trend of children with disabilities either being relinquished or, there are protective concerns, so they come into care. And there's some difficulties within the existing workforce about how do we now make sure that we've got the dual skills, which are children who are traumatised but also have a range of disability. What tends to happen when we don't get it right is for those children, their behaviours escalate, and then we find ourselves looking at really expensive models of care. Had we done the right thing early on and had the right skilled staff and the right models, we wouldn't then be in that place. So it's a problem for the system, but it's also a problem for the child and their family if we're not doing the right thing early on.
What makes a really good person working at the front line with kids in crisis?
You've got to like kids.
It's a good start.
You've got to like kids, and you've got to love seeing them change and grow, and actually not see the problems as the problems, but it's part of their natural growth. And without doubt, the workers that I meet on the ground talk about the kids that are doing the most difficult things, but talk about them in such a beautiful way. And you've got to be able to stand back from the difficulties and look at things, it's not about you, it's not anything that you're doing, but what can you do to help that child?
What do you see those big picture issues in the next 5 to 10 years?
Certainly I think, and it's a long-standing discussion that I have with lots of colleagues, but the role of the community sector organisations in the delivery of services to our communities. There's lots of talk about there's never enough money. I think it's the perfect time to talk about the role of the community sector organisation. Its capability, its capacity, its ability to draw money in, not just take government funding, how it evolves to meet the changing needs of communities. So I think that we've got to have that discussion.
But what are kids telling us that would be important for us to do differently?
Kids tell us a lot of stuff, and a lot of our research now, and probably a lot of yours, is asking children directly, on a day-to-day basis, what should we change as an organisation? And many organisations are setting up their own youth ambassador programs, so that they've got really timely advice from children and families about the sort of things the agency needs to do to get a better outcome for them. They say a lot of things. Kids often say they're not involved in decision making, so decisions are made for them. They also often say, I don't have much power and control over the multiple placements I might have, for example. So one of the things that we need to do, I think, carers complain about this as well, is making sure that children are part of the decision making that is happening about them. Because if we want to keep children safe, then we have to open up everything to make sure that we're hearing what they're saying as quickly as possible, so we can respond to that.
Deb Sabaris, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you.
It's been good.